what has 80 years of studying humans taught us about happiness? I'll tell you what, seeing this like 80-year study go viral again and again and again has taught me that nobody knows how to like footnote or asterisk or just like add a dang sentence about the sample. The sample. Tell people about the sample for the study. Sample is just like a researchy way of saying like who are the people that were included. This one does tell you how many people were included in the study, and you look at it and you're like, wow, it's like over 1,000 people. These lessons must be like really true and really important because that's like so many people, and I'm a human and this must apply to me, right? Well, that depends. Are you a white man at Harvard? I'm exaggerating because the study did go on to eventually include some non-white men not from Harvard. But like, in case you missed my last video on this, let's just recap and see what we think about these lessons. The findings from the Harvard study come from originally two different groups of people. 268 Harvard sophomores, all white men, who were sophomores in 1938. And then in the 1970s, they added in 456 inner city residents, also all white men. At some point, and I'm not exactly sure when, because there's an article from 2017 in the Harvard Gazette that says over a decade ago, but that's not super precise. But at some point, they started including the wives of these men in the study as well. And they're now also including the children of the original men in the study. Is it amazing that there is like an 80+ year study going on? Yes, that is amazing. I think what gets me is that like when the study started, it was a study of adult development and it only included white men. And like now, it's sure, like it includes the spouses of white men and the children of white men, but this still just kind of seems like a pretty biased sample to be saying it's a study of adult development. Like, if I'm reading a study of adult development, I want it to be a pretty diverse and inclusive sample, and it just like irritates me that this is not perhaps intentionally from the authors or the researchers, but by people reporting it and sharing it, like making it sound like this like adult study, like, well, look what we can learn about adults, and it just like really goes back to white men. Now, am I looking at these like viral videos or Twitter, X, whatever, things about like lessons people have learned about humans and thinking like, ugh, these are like such bad lessons, like we shouldn't be sharing these? No, like they seem fine, you know? That's the moon and it's really distracting me. That's wild, right? Through the blinds. No, I'm not thinking that at all. Like, it's not like they're bad lessons. It's just like to say like those are lessons for all humans based in research bugs me a little bit, right? Because it is based in research, but it's based in research on a very particular group of humans. And as a member of a group of humans who wasn't included in that initial group and is like, let's say marginally included in later groups, I don't know how much of those lessons apply to me based on research, right? Like I could decide how much I feel like they apply for me, or I want to try out those lessons based on my intuition, opinion, gut feeling, whatever. But that's not the same as saying like research shows something. So I think we should just be careful about how we report things per usual. And it's not like you can't learn from research that's like not based on people exactly like you, right? You totally can. But what I would say is like that's why they do studies where they like replicate results for like different groups of people, and you check for like the validity of data by seeing like, hey, we found this with this group of people. Does it hold up to be true with this other group of people? Like all these important like aspects of doing good research. And again, I don't think the researchers who did that study like, they are measured in how they report things, and they do mention their sample, and like, this is a common practice in research. Like, you talk about the limitations of your work, but people who are just like sharing it because it's like really interesting or eye catchy or sometimes clickbaity, whatever, aren't doing that same like due diligence. And I think that does everyone a disservice. I also think that it's misinformation. It's not lessons on humans if like all types of humans weren't represented. So before you share a fact or stat or fun little lesson on the internet that allegedly came from research, do the right thing. Tell us the full context. Hey, who's this data on? What year was it collected? Honestly, just like starting with those two things alone would be like really amazing. And then like provide a link to the study or like the authors and name of the study. There's more things I would ideally want you to share, but I think like those three, right? Like, hey, where the heck did this data come from and in what year? And then P.S., like, here's how you can easily find the study if you want to learn more.